Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Creatively Crafted Life. My name is Melanie, and we have Lela here again this week. Hi, Lela.
Hey, hey.
How are you doing?
Good to see you.
So this is our third week leading up to our event on March 25th, 26th. Are you excited?
Yes, very much so. I really enjoyed our theme and all the art ideas and artwork creativity that it's inspired. So it's been super fun to get out some of the tools and some of the items that maybe we haven't used right so often. You know, we started with stencils. We talked about embossing folders last week, and we've done some really fun things just trying to be creative. So always good when you're inspired.
That's right. And so this week we brought in some additional tools. We actually challenged ourselves to use dies or punches in conjunction with our something new, which is our stamp sets. Speaking of the stamp sets, we are using two that are in the current Close to My Heart catalog. For those of you that perhaps have not watched the other videos, we'll just quickly mention them here. Thoughtful Florals is one, Slimline Quotes and Sentiments is the other. We will leave a link below if you are interested in checking those out. What else? Also below, there will be links to our Facebook groups. Both Lela and I have one. You can join one, both, either. That is going to be our hub for the event, meaning that's where we will post all our communications. We'd love to have you join us. For those of you that are not Facebook friends, friends with Facebook, don't care for Facebook, we would still love to have you join us. You just have to message us. Our emails will also be below, and we will send you the Zoom links so you can still participate.
Definitely. We want everybody to play along, and we really hope that whatever you're inspired by, you'll put your artwork or show us. And again, if you're not a Facebook fan or friend, right, email us, because we'd love to see what you come up with.
Absolutely. So we did mention that today's challenge, or this week's challenge, was to use dies or punches, and I'm going to go first again this week. The first project I'm going to share with you is actually a art journal page that I made, and I used the sentiment from the Slimline Quotes and Sentiment stamp that reads, "There are some who bring a light so great to the world that even after they are gone, the light remains." And when I read that, it immediately brought to mind my grandparents, both my maternal and paternal grandparents who have passed away. I thought it would be good to do some journaling about what they brought to my life and what they still bring to my life now. And so that's what the art journal page is. I did a background using a Stampin' Up! Punch. It's a border punch. I don't even know how old this is, but I can tell you right now, I've been in California for 10 years and I had it before then. So,
so it's been there a while.
Yeah, I will have to admit though, as I was punching out, how many did I punch out? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of these strips. The punch is a little bit sticky. So now I have to debate. Yeah, I have to debate whether if that's a big enough hindrance to prevent me from keeping it, right? You know, we talk about in the previous weeks that if stuff's not easy or convenient, that we don't tend to use it. And so as I was doing this, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be so quick to pull it out again because it is a little bit finicky. So I'll have to think about that.
I have a couple of punches like that, and I always hesitated to use them because of that, right? They get stuck about the second or third time. So I finally had my husband try to, sharpen them, do all those things. And when one of them still didn't, to your point, punch like that, I realized I was just not going to use it because it didn't work easily. And so that was one of those things where I decided like, hey, okay, I'm purging this, right? It's not working the way I want it. And, for me, just trying to keep things fresh and space available. If I'm not going to use something, I've really realized like maybe some stuff can go. And to be honest with you, Mel, there were a couple punches I got rid of because of that, trying to kind of look through and see what I had.
Well, and I think for a lot of us, space is at a premium. I mean, if we are keeping stuff that we don't love, it may be preventing us from keeping stuff that we do love. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And
Yeah.
and let's be honest here. And we talked about it, I think, in our last Zoom, which was super fun in February. And I think we shared a lot about having space to sometimes add something new, because let's be honest, we're not going to stop shopping. We're not going to stop bringing some new stuff in. And so if we can figure out a way to constructively and easily, bring in some new things and get rid, maybe let go of some things that aren't working exactly like we'd like them to.
Yeah. And that's something I'm really hoping this year, part of my focus on using my stash is to identify those items that are okay to be let go, whether it's stamps, like I just don't care for the image, or, I have purchased some lesser quality stamps in my time that maybe it is time to let them go, because you know what, they just don't stamp that great. So those are things that I'm hoping to deal with this year as I work through my stash, but I should probably say in the next 10 years as I work through my stash, because I have so much. But yeah, this is definitely one that I'm thinking might have to be let go. And to be honest, I have a new close to my heart punch that I got a couple months ago that it's not exactly the same, but it has a similar vibe to it, that maybe that's good enough. I don't need to keep both.
Yeah, I think that there's really an ebb and flow, just like with everything else, right? And what I've loved about our theme, thinking about using some old stuff with some new stuff, is that whole thought process about, will I use, today we're looking at punches. So I'm looking at my drawer of punches and saying, I haven't pulled that one out in ages. And then there were a couple in there where I'm like, I don't think I've ever used them, right? I got them on sale. I thought I would. One of them was a really big block punch, and it punches some sort of Christmas type. I've just never used it, right? And it's taking up a lot of real estate. So those are some of the fun things with our theme to think about, was some of this old, if you will, actually needs to be, donated to somebody else or
retired.
Right. The punches that weren't working, retired.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's just not your thing or whatever, then maybe do pass it on to someone else who may get more use out of it and frees up the space in your space to make room for other things. So I do still need to do the journaling on it. It will be hidden journaling underneath the flap on the left-hand side. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm not a big journaler in the sense of I'm not really good with words, and I'm not all poetic or any of that kind of stuff. But I do, the sentiment from the stamp set really spoke to me, and I just feel compelled to document this. So I'm glad that I've got it in my journal. I've got it started. Now I just need to sit down and do the journaling. I probably will type it up and insert it in just because of the space. So I write quite large. So this will give me plenty of room. Plus the other thing is I find that when I type, the words come a little bit easier versus handwriting. Allows you to edit and go back and change things and stuff. So that still has to be done, but I'm very happy with this page. And I got another layout in my Dina Wakely art journal book that I have, I think, 3 of these. And I am bound and determined to fill them up. And this is only the first one. So also another way of using, quote unquote, using my stash.
I think it's really fun that you took a sentiment and didn't put it on a card, because I'm thinking now that I'm sure that there are several sentiments or some of these that would be fun, some fun journaling or even some very thoughtful journaling, right? It spurred the story about your grandparents. And I think that's something we don't always think about, is that we could use stamps as part of the journaling or the inspiration to tell a story. And in your art journal, I think that's a perfect spot for that. That's cool.
Yeah, and I chose an art journal, but you could definitely do a scrapbook layout and have that as either a subtitle, right, leading into the story, or it could even be the title itself. It's a little bit wordy in the normal sense of what we do for titles, but you definitely could.
I think that's kind of cool, right? I don't know if I've used my sentiment stamps very often on my scrapbook pages, and I definitely want to kind of rethink some of those. I think that's a fun idea.
So you did another card this week, I believe.
I did, and I took a page out of your book. No surprise. I love the idea that you shared with us about some of your scraps and how you cut them into set size squares. I think you use squares, right? To be able to quickly use. And I needed to clean out some of my scrap buckets, and especially in those neutral colors, the white, off-white, and I tend to want to use circles. I like circles. Squares are, pretty quick for me to cut. And I thought, how great would it be to kind of have some of these all punched into some circles in different sizes so that I could just grab one when I wanted one. And because that's another thing. I have the old Creative Memories set where, you have the mat and you cut the different circles. And I love that thing.
Me too. I still have that too. Yeah.
But getting it out sometimes, right, is a challenge. Or also I was going to a crop. I'm trying to pack for a crop. So it was really fun that I had some done. So my card includes those circles that I've cut. Last week we talked about embossing folders. So I got out the dots.
Yep.
You know how old that one is? That's a really old embossing folder. And I was fun. I was trying to figure out the age. And of course, as you see, I'm still using up that black gingham ribbon that's laying on my desk, ladies. It's not going anywhere until I use it up. I stamped, it's pretty light, but I stamped just lightly in a really pale gray background. And we talked about last week about cutting apart the stamp. And I only used 1/2 of it. To just create a little bit of a background, just a little bit of color in the top half. And then still fussy cut out some more flowers. Really have enjoyed that with this set. They're very easy to cut out and it makes them very flexible to use. So, and then I use the happy birthday. I don't know about you, but having a few extra happy birthday cards around are always useful because usually I'm also like, oh my gosh, when is her birthday or when is his birthday?
Yeah, I would say birthdays are my second most required cards after Christmas.
Yeah. So I loved it. It was fun.
Well, I love that you're still using that black and white gingham. I think that's fantastic. And I really do like it, how you've paired it with some solid cardstock. I think it just, the contrast between that and the pink color, I can't remember what the name of the fancy.
Wildberry. Color of the year.
That's what it is. Yeah. Which is limited to this year, I believe, right?
It is. Yeah.
So if you love that color, you need to get it before the end of this catalog year, right?
Right. And there's still the bundled card stocks, and some of the single card stocks are still on sale. So now would be a good time, like you mentioned, to get it.
Close to My Heart cardstock is great. It's two-toned, so one side is a darker shade and the other side is slightly lighter, and it is white core. So you've got lots of variety of techniques that you can do with their cardstock. Not that we're saying you need to buy more something new, but perhaps you need to buy something more new.
Sometimes some fresh colors, right? Like this Wildberry is really, a new color of the year. It's around for a little while. So it could be like a fresh color. I think, our whole goal with this, right, was to take something new. In our case, we use stamp sets, right? And pair it with some of the older things we had in our stash. And look what we've done over the last few weeks. We've used stencils, we've pulled them out. I've been using my stencils way more than I ever have. We've talked about punches and you know, some of the ones we like, some of the ones maybe we need to move on, but we still got some punches out. You know, we've used our embossing folders multiple times. And then just like, you know, we laugh about my ribbon or things like that, but it's really given us some ways to use up some stuff that's, you know, maybe been sitting here that it's time to use in a different way, or, you know, use a little bit more of it. I think it's been really fun to talk about all these different ways that we can mix and match, whether it's new stuff with old stuff, or borrowed stuff, like you said, or colorful stuff, or tools, techniques.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's all about just reframing your mind about the stuff that you have in your stash to make it fun and exciting again. So speaking about something else in my stash that I have purchased and I don't think I have ever used, and I have probably about 5 or 6 of these. They are dies that cut out card bases and do some sort of fancy fold. So in this particular card, it is an A2 size card when it's flat, but it has a fold down the middle with a decorative edge on it, and then it's got a little notch here so that it can stand. I don't think I've ever used this card, so this card die or whatever. So I was super excited to play with this, and I managed to get the Slimline stamp set on here. Again, similar to what you did last week. I took the one stamped in the top and then did the rest of it down in the bottom here.
That is such a flexible way to use those sentiments. You know, there's some fun sentiments and something a little bit different, right? Than just a straight happy birthday or thinking of you, or, you know, last week's, we thought maybe that lent itself to a little bit of sympathy or thank you. And, you know, like that, like split it apart, use it for the inside and outside, use it for the top and bottom. So really gives a little bit more flexibility than just putting it on a Slimline card. I don't think either one of us used those Slimline sentiments.
I think part of that too was in our challenge to ourselves was, how can we expand the use? Obviously you can use it on a Slimline card. Right? That's what they're telling us it's designed for. But what we really want to encourage you all is to not be bound by what someone tells you. So just because they tell you it's a Slimline, that doesn't mean that's the only way that you need to use those. Now, some of the stamps images are a little harder to break apart, like the big thank you, which neither of us use. That one was a little bit more challenging. But even the other happy birthday one, you know, you could selectively ink sections of it and break it apart that way, even though, you know, visually it may not be that easy to trim it out like this one is. But there are ways that you can make it work if you needed to.
Right. Splitting it apart, or using different colors for it. So a lot of fun things to do with your stamps and your tools. Yeah. Sometimes I really get in I hate to say a rut, but maybe where I sit down and maybe I've got some limited time, Mel, and so I do the same thing every time, right? I pull out my pattern paper,
you have a formula,
and so this has been really fun to kind of rethink using some tools. I loved your idea of embossing those backgrounds last week for the scrapbook page. Like, how fun is that? I just tend to use my embossing folders, you know, a little bit more for my cards, or using that Slimline sentiment in your art journal. Again, you know, it really lends itself to starting your story, and then, you know, pulling out our punches or fussy cutting some flowers, whether we colored them or left them black and white. It's just been really fun to try some different things.
And I don't know about you, but I find that if I can break through that first barrier, like get that first creative spark, then the ball just goes. You like my sound effects?
Yes. And the hamster wheel, right? Yeah. Once the hamster wheel's spinning. It just keeps spinning. So,
Yeah.
and you get some of these tools and techniques out, like just having that ribbon, laying on my desk, or the stencils a little bit easier spot to get to, has been really fun, because then it, as I'm looking around for something, just right, or to be inspired by, we're able to use those things. And I think all of us are the same, right? When we're able to take something and go, man, I haven't used this in a while, it feels good. It feels good to, to stretch our creative muscle, like you said, and try, maybe like you called it a formula, a little bit of a different formula. So, and I think that's what we were hoping to do, right? With our whole theme of something old and something new, was mix it up, try something else.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with doing a formula, like a formulaic approach to creating that definitely, I mean, I do it too all the time, kind of have your go-to techniques and stuff like that. But if you are really wanting to break out of that, we really want to encourage you maybe to try some of our challenges, combine two different things, that, something old and something new, and see what you can come up with. Or, when you look at that product, you're going to think about the most obvious items, like for instance, your go-to, which is the same as my go-to for the ribbon, right? A band with a bow, right? That's a go-to. But on your other card, you did the tag topper. Right. So that's something different. That's how you can use ribbon. You don't have to use twine for the top of the tag. You can use ribbon. And what other ways could you use ribbon?
In my very first card, I used it as the border, right. Not just with
the bow. Yeah.
Right.
Or, maybe you can do 2 strips of ribbon instead of 1, or, you know what I mean? Like the ideas just start to flow when you just start doing it. It's just getting that ball rolling. And so we're hoping that these videos are that little nudge to get the ball rolling. And of course, if you do create anything, we'd love to see and hear what you have come up with. So our Facebook groups are in the links below. Our email addresses are also there if you want to reach out to either of us. And for those of you that are not into Facebook, let us know if you're interested in joining our event, March 25th, 26th. No fee, just come, have fun. And we can send you the Zoom links. Other than that, though, all the links and everything will be posted in our Facebook group. So if you're part of that, you're already in.
And Mel, I am excited in our event to talk about our idea about something borrowed.
Speaking of which, because we haven't actually brought that up in any of our previous videos, have we?
No.
Just the first one. So if you are interested in playing along, both Lela and I, one or the other, depending on what you're interested in, would love to send you a little something. And we're calling it something borrowed. So in a perfect world, if we could host an in-person event, we would have our tools available. You could borrow them, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, being virtual, it's a little bit more difficult. So we are prepared to send you a little something. And all we need to know, of course, is your mailing address, and you can send that to us via our emails, which again, like I said before, are listed below. If you want to reciprocate, by all means, it is not necessary. But if you would like to challenge us with something that you want to lend us, so to speak, just let us know as well, and we will forward you on our respective addresses so that you can send that. But of course, there's no requirements on our part. If you just want to play along, we will send you a little something.
Right. We just thought it would be fun. Send you something in an envelope. It's not going to be big. It's not going to be, something that's really difficult to use, and just see what you do with it, and share it with us on our Zoom sessions. We thought it'd be fun to share our borrowed items or ideas on our Zoom. So I'm really looking forward to that part. I think that's kind of fun.
We hope you guys think so too. And like I said, be sure to check us out on Facebook. Let us know if you're interested in coming. We want to hear all about it. And I think that is it for this week.
I think so too. March 25th and 26th. Come and play.
Coming up fast.
Until then, happy crafting.
Happy crafting.